Hey everyone, how's it going? So testing out full self-driving beta 10.10, the latest firmware. Almost got in the head-on collision here, but full self-driving, bank to the right, apply brake, normal. Hit a dip, did not slow down for that. So that's one issue that it needs to be corrected because it's not recognizing those dip even when there is a sign. Maybe 5 or 10% of the time it does slow down if there's a dip sign ahead, but it does not know when that dip will be in front of it. So something hopefully Tesla Vision will be able to figure out in the near future. As we approach the intersection, I want to talk about the neighborhood. So this is one of the more suburban area of LA, and it has narrow streets with a lot of cars parked on the street. So as we approach one of these streets in the neighborhood, you will see the Tesla full self-driving center itself between the middle center divider and the parked vehicles, and it does that fairly well. It does not mistaking those parked vehicles for actual vehicles driving in front of it. Unlike before, it will actually have phantom braking and gets confused when it sees those cars on the right. So we're approaching this van in front of us that is yielding for oncoming traffic, and the light turned yellow, but it still does accelerate, knowing that it will make it through before it turns red. Normal behavior, so no complaints there. So as we continue through this neighborhood with parked vehicles, it will clear up right about now, and the vehicle does center itself back into the middle of the lane. So it's smart enough to do that without thinking there's parked vehicles in front. As we continue through the neighborhood, the street clears up, and then you will see more parked vehicles. And we want to see how it reacts when it approaches a vehicle park while it's in the middle of the lane. So it slowly banks to the left, and it does that perfectly. An issue I have with the four-way stop sign, so it does come to a complete stop, and as it start moving, it paused right about here for about 1 to 2 seconds without accelerating until halfway through the intersection, which is an unusual behavior for a normal driver. So it's been doing that throughout this whole entire recording. So anytime it reaches a four-way stop sign, it hesitates after it starts going before it accelerates through. So here, as we approach a four-way stoplight in this change, it starts turning right, and it's about to go until a car approaches, and it just stopped right here. So that SUV had to bank to the left to avoid us. Very abnormal behavior. It should have caught that SUV speeding towards. So if it were to pass through, we probably would have had a collision if that SUV wasn't paying attention. So we're continuing now on a main street, and there will be some jaywalkers coming up, and we'll show you how it performs when there's jaywalkers coming across the street or waiting in the middle of the street. At first, we were thinking it will either brake, thinking it's pedestrian crossing the street, but the pedestrian was actually just waiting in the middle, waiting for all the cars to pass. It actually ends up banking into the adjacent lane with a vehicle on the adjacent lane. Luckily, it wasn't in the blind spot or next to us, so it does that just fine. So it does do maneuver to avoid an obstacle. So here's the pedestrian. It banked to the right. We did not apply any effort to the steering wheel and avoided the pedestrian. So I guess it rather hit a vehicle than hit a pedestrian. Here's a rough right turn. So it actually misinterpreted that cornering, which is a normal right turn, and it actually banked right twice. Very jerky. So abnormal behavior there. And left turn, again, hesitation. A lot of hesitation with this firmware 10.10. We thought the last version was too aggressive, and now they actually made it too less aggressive, where it could be dangerous for the driver as well as for other vehicles. Making the right again at the light. Again, hesitation there, even at the green light. Very abnormal behavior. So too much hesitation. So whoever's programming this have made it less assertive. And we're in normal right now. We're not, there hasn't been any change to the mode. It's just a firmware update. So we were expecting at least a middle ground between being aggressive and not aggressive. As we approach this interchange, or not interchange, actually, a plaza, we need to bank left and turn into plaza. There's a lot of oncoming car. It actually hesitated for about a second before it went for it. Before, it would have just went for it without hesitation or come to a complete stop. In the parking lot, there's a lot of confusion. It always tries to center itself, even if there's other oncoming vehicles, which is normal. But when there's oncoming vehicles, it just pause, stop, and then bank to the right. So now we'll be heading out from the coffee shop to a fast food chain, McDonald's, and we'll see how it performs. So we'll activate it now on the main street. It does fairly well going straight, as it always been doing, even with just autopilot. It just does really well going straight. And I can't say how improved the regenerative braking versus actual braking have made the passenger feel. It's less jerky when it's coming to a complete stop. On the other hand, when it's accelerating, it is a hit or miss. Sometimes it accelerates too slow, and sometimes it accelerates too hard. It's just very unpredictable and very jerky. So if you're looking for a smooth ride to and from destination A and B, and you don't want to drive, you probably would rather drive yourself, at least for now. I would hold off on getting the beta full self-driving until they fully approve the full self-driving as non-beta, because I don't think they're anywhere near. Maybe they're a year or two out, but even with this 10.10, you would think things have improved, but it actually got worse from how I feel, especially during interchange, four-way stop, stoplight, and those right turns are pretty jerky. So a lot more jerky than the previous version. The left turn, it's been doing this fairly well. Easy maneuver for it. It stays on the far left lane, no problem at all. So going straight, turning left at the light interchange, it does that very smoothly. So that hasn't changed much. It's just improved over the last version for sure. While cruising through this street with minimum cars, it does pretty well with visualization. No complaints about that. Everything seems to be very accurate. And even the lights, it turns within a second, or maybe less than a second, matching that of what's happening around it. So as it banked to the right lane, we'll be turning into a plaza where McDonald's is located at, and we'll see how it performs. So it actually banked slightly to the left here, you can see that, and then turning right. Normal behavior for a residential area, but not for a main street, because you can confuse the driver behind you, making them think that you're letting them have room to make a right turn. So something that they need to figure out, make sure that they're doing that while you're in a residential area, to bank left, then turn onto the driveway. But for Main Street onto a plaza that has a driveway, it doesn't need to do that. It actually needs to bank closer to the right and then turn into the driveway. So hopefully you find this video helpful in deciding whether full self-driving is for you, or if you want to test this out, go ahead and do so. I would highly recommend doing the monthly subscription if you just want to try it out. And then once you feel that it's ready for prime time, and it can take you from A to B without being too jerky and having a comfortable ride while you feel safe, then go ahead and outright buy it. But for now, would not recommend it, and just hang tight, and hopefully they improve this sooner than later. Catch you on next time. Remember, subscribe. Take care.